back with Ron, and we're going to continue with my life. And we were finished up talking, or beginning to talk about Seth. You, again, your son, just less than 2 years ago, had a hunting accident. You said he was up at the family cabin. He loved hunting. You said you guys were very close.
Yeah, Seth and I spent all the time we could in the woods. We both loved bow hunting, deer hunting, gun hunting, rabbit hunting, fishing. We were always on the ice in the winter, and then during the archery season, we were always in the woods. All three of our kids love being outdoors, whether it's fishing or hunting. But yeah, Seth just, in the 20 years that young lad was on this planet, he did more than half of my friends who are my age. The kid lived life to the fullest, whether it was hunting, fishing, just being...
You said the day that he had the accident, he was helping a neighbor cut wood.
Yeah, he was helping the elderly gentleman up north cut wood all day and stack it, and that's just how Seth was. If something needed to be done, Seth was there. So, yeah, he just, it was a freak hunting accident. It happens, you hear about it every year around the state or around the country, but he did what he wanted to do, and I find comfort knowing that his accident was doing something that kid enjoyed. He loved hunting.
We talked about your faith, and you talked about your pastor at your church, more or less reinforcing that.
Yeah, Father Mike, Michelle and I were trying to wrap our heads around the whole accident scenario and
why?
Yeah, just why Seth, and as many times as we've been hunting, and as many times that he's climbed a tree stand or what have you, why Seth? And Father Mike just said, look, Ron, from the time we're born, it's already predestined. You're on a clock. So whether it was a hunting accident or something else, it was Seth's time. Unfortunately for us, good for Seth. We call it his shining moment at home now. We don't call it the day he passed away, but October 30th is Seth's shining moment.
Wow.
Yeah. So St. Joe's Church has been great. That's where we had a service. As I was telling you during the break, there was well over 600 people at Seth's service, and it's a true testament not only to Seth, but our community and our friendship and all of our friends that we have. It's been that's probably been the most positive thing that we've gotten out of this is you can really feel the love not only from the Oxford community, but from my constituents around the state of Michigan and the country in the Parks and Rec field. It's been overwhelming to be honest with you.
No, families go through it, and again, you're finding it, and you said every day gives you an opportunity to put life in focus and go forward. And
yeah, I read something a week or two ago. Grieving is a journey, and every morning when I wake up, I have no idea where my brain's going to put me. It could be a good day, it could be a bad day. Most of the days are better now, but I'll be honest with you, it'll be going along, and something will trigger you, and it's tough.
Down a bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I say the hardest thing besides getting through it every day is just getting to those anniversary dates and trying to get through those. But Father's Day is tough. But I'm so blessed to have Sarah and Shelby and Michelle in my life. They, I feel like they lift 90% of the burden off my shoulder. But it is a struggle on some days. But you just gotta keep trusting in God, and everything's gonna be fine. Absolutely.
Yep. And I saw an interesting video clip that one of my friends put on Facebook. It was a TED interview with a lady who was talking about she lost her husband about 4 years ago, and she said the grieving, you never really get over somebody. You don't really move on. You move on with them as you're doing now with Seth. Your life is continuing, but it's not that he stops being with you.
No.
It's a way of you learning to function.
It's like losing a limb. If you were to lose a leg, and I don't wish that on anybody, but losing a child or anyone close to you is like that. You have to continue to walk. You just learn to walk differently. And that limb is not there, but the feeling still is. So, so like I said, our mantra is we're moving forward, and Seth was with us, and he'll never be forgotten. And we talk about him often.
Yeah, well, it's those significant emotional events that help to form your life and make you a stronger person. And for you and your family, it's a process you're going through, but you again appear to have the support and a plan to deal with it.
We are. We're so fortunate to have the support from the community. I mean, we still have people bring flowers over or just stop in, and some of Seth's buddies will call. And I'm really excited that Shelby's boyfriend is one of Seth's buddies, great guy. That's another good thing that's come out of it, to see those two so happy. But, you know, I've also learned that you never know what crosses people are carrying, you know. There's so many people who may be carrying the same cross that I don't know, but you just have to keep carrying it. And maybe I'm inspiring somebody else. And Michelle and I said that we're firm believers that we were picked to carry this burden.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a burden, but to carry this, and maybe we can help somebody else through it.
Well, that's the key, I think, too, that you're not alone in this, that other families either have experienced or are experiencing, and that's where that collectiveness comes about to offer that support.
Right.
And it sounds as though, again, within the community and your community of supporters within your association, that is there, and it's.
Yeah, we've been really blessed. Everybody from the Parks and Rec staff and commissioners to our community to Michelle's employer, everybody's been supportive of our church. It's been, you know, again, it's not something you want to walk through, but it's a lot easier walking with other people when you do it. So
yeah, we were talking about, and I guess I'd like to focus a little bit on the folks that made an impact on your life, and to talk about. We were talking about your mom and dad, grandparents. Were they close by so that you could enjoy Grandma and Grandpa?
yeah, my grandparents live on Baldwin Road. Actually, my grandma is still alive. She's 94, I believe.
Oh, wow.
She'll be 95 this year. She worked at Oxford Schools in the kitchen for 35 years.
So that was Mom's mom.
That's Mom's mom. So, and her husband, my grandpa Pete, he was a farmer. He farmed a little bit out there, but they were both actively involved with our upbringing. I always remember going there on Saturdays and Sundays, whether we were having a cookouts or Grandpa was doing something with us. We were always at Grandma and Grandpa's. So, just getting back to the basics of life, how to act, and teach you the ins and outs of life. So, Grandma and Grandpa had a huge impact in my life from a child. And then through the school years, the coaches I had, whether it was at Sashball Junior High or the high school.
Well, even in Chiefs, you starting on probably organized baseball. You had the Independence Parks and Rec and those first baseball coaches. It may have been your dad.
It was my dad.
Your dad, the first coach, and then.
Yeah, but I remember Chiefs football. It was funny you bring that up. Mr. Heath, Dick Heath, was a person that I was so afraid of him then, but unfortunately he's gone now too. But I can think back to him and Dick Lamphere, Mr. Pupor was a coach. Mr. Williams was a coach. So now I look back at these people and what an influence they made on my life. So it's amazing. When you're going through that, you really don't understand what the purpose is, but as you get older, you look back and you really start to appreciate them.
Yeah, we talked about the teachers, and again, Sashball Junior High, and the different coaches you had, both in the football, the wrestling, the different teachers. You ended up with Kruger and Call for math?
I had Mr. Kruger and Mr. Call for math, Mr. Granlund for drafting, Mr. Kairos for gym. So yeah, I mean, those are some names that when I hear their names, it just takes me right back to their classrooms really quickly.
Then at the high school, KR?
I had KR at high school. I had, I forgot the art teacher's name. I can't think of her name right now.
Miller?
Yes, Mrs. Miller. And I had Mr. Toby Carter for science.
Yeah.
So, those are some funny names. It just brings a smile on my face to hear those names. Pops Warner for gym. He was a great person.
You know Pop?
Passed away, he was a huge influence in my life. Gave me my nickname of Scooter because I was not the most fitted. Everybody, but yeah.
Did you play ball with him?
I did not play baseball. That was not in my wheelhouse once I got to the high school. Mine ended with Mr. K at the junior high. At Sashball, So, but no, those are some great people that made a difference in my life. And then when I got the job here, Rick Laidler and John Duvall, they were two of the commissioners at that time, gave me the opportunity to come work here. So
they trusted you.
They trusted me, I guess. Yeah. Looking back now, I don't know what they were thinking. But John Duvall still lives in town here with his lovely wife Cindy. Their son Josh worked for us at the Parks and Rec. But Rick Laidler and John, they were the ones who took a chance on me. And our family, Michelle and I and the kids, owe so much to Rick Laidler and his wife Marie. Rick's now retired and they live in Florida, but that guy has done more for me as a person and a professional than I could ever think. He's just a fabulous guy, and he was a commissioner here for like 26 years on the Parks and Rec.
Oh, wow.
A lot of the stuff done here is because of Rick and his leadership and trusting in the young kid coming in. So
That's neat.
we owe Rick and his family a lot.
Yeah, that's neat. And within your association, different awards, recognition, we talked about, initially you started, were Tim Doyle and Mike Engen in town?
They were. I was an umpire for Timmy Doyle and Mike
Okay.
Engen. I just saw Mike Engen last week. Tim unfortunately has passed on from Lou Gehrig's, but no, that's where I got I would say my start to be in the Parks and Rec field. It was working as an umpire back at Independence Township. And when I went to college, I was originally going to be a teacher in phys ed, and with an art minor. Well, I figured if I couldn't spell kinesiology, I wasn't going to pass it. So then I went to be an art major with a rec minor, and then when I got in the rec classes, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is where I belong. So that's how I got steered toward the recreation degree. But I've been fortunate. I've been involved with, it's called Michigan Recreation Park Association, my entire career. I've been actively involved with a lot of the committees. I've been the youth basketball commissioner for the state.
Officer in the organization?
I've been president for that. I've been the social chair for that. I received the Young Professional Award, I think it was in 97 or 98. We were fortunate 2 years ago. We attended the ceremony in Grand Rapids. It was a conference, but they do the awards night, and I didn't know the kids were coming, but I received the Distinguished CMU Alumni Award, which was very nice. But that night,
That was through your association then?
that was, yeah, it's given from the university.
Okay.
And they were on hand. And then at the major award, I received what's called the Grand Award. That is the top award you can get in our field. It's recognizing the Grand Hotel and the Musser family.
Okay.
And that was for my efforts. I started a golf outing after my father passed away to raise funds for his endowment that I started to put in handicap park amenities. So since we've started that, we've raised almost $80,000.
Wow.
So that
Is that through the state then, so that money is,
yeah, it goes through the MRPA Foundation, and it goes into now it's called the Davis Endowment, because my mom, when she passed away, we put her name on it, and then when Seth passed away, we put his name on it. So now it's called the Davis Endowment. It's held at the Greater Lansing Capital Foundation. But I received the Grand Award that night for my efforts for that, and Michelle and Sarah and Shelby and Seth were there. They knew I was getting it. I didn't, and it was a great night for us. But those are probably the three awards that I'm the most proud of, is those to be honored by your peers. So
definitely,
yeah,
definitely. So again, the people you worked with, Mike and Tim, and then Ann Conklin.
Annie Conklin. You want to talk about someone who took a chance. She took a chance on me right out of college as an intern. So, and I can go into further with that when if we come back from our break, and I'll tell you how that went.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
We'll come back and continue on with Ann.
All right.
Great.
The Canine Stray Rescue League began with one woman's dog and a dream. In 1990, Carol Powell lost her dog and searched multiple animal control centers to find him. When she did so, she discovered perfectly healthy dogs needlessly euthanized due to limited space and decided to do something about it. She traveled to multiple animal control centers to buy dogs on death row, and then sat outside supermarkets giving them away to healthy and loving homes. Around this time, Powell bought the property where Canine Stray Rescue resides to this day from a friend. There was only one building to house the dogs, and the rest remained outside in the cold. Flash forward to 2001 in Flint, when current president of the Canine Stray Rescue League, Lori Stevenson, met Carol Powell. Both passionate about dog rescue, they united their efforts and traveled across Genesee County to various animal controls to save dogs from euthanization. Until they found proper families, they often kept the dogs in their own homes. The numbers of rescued dogs grew, and Canine Stray Rescue League began to take shape. Powell and Stevenson ran it themselves with a board of directors. As their funding and popularity grew, they were able to purchase more housing for the dogs. Today, Carol Powell is retired, and keeping the dream alive, Lori Stevenson heads the Canine Group. She takes in dogs from all over Michigan and from states that border Ohio. Due to connections with a friend in Puerto Rico, she is able to take in strays there, still suffering from the aftermath of the hurricanes in 2017. K9 runs primarily on donations, so they're imperative to the League's survival. When asked how her rescue missions impact society, Stevenson replied that if we teach our children to have compassion for dogs, they'll treat everyone in their life with that same compassion and charity.
We're back with Ron Davis for another segment of Ron's life, and we were talking about Ann Conklin at Independence, and you worked with her in the summertime, and then you said you did an internship with her.
I did. She is like the godmother of Parks and Rec. I mean, she, there's a big joke. Everybody coming out of college should have to work for Ann. Go to Camp Conklin, because it would weed out the week. Because I remember working for Annie. Now you have to keep in mind, I was 27 when I went to work for her as an intern.
Oh, wow. So you worked before.
Well,
or no, she wasn't there.
No,
you worked
she
for
wasn't
Tim
there.
And
I
Mike.
worked for Tim. But after college, she hired me as an intern. So coming out, I was 27 doing an intern for her. Thought I knew everything. And man, she just worked me like a dog. I mean, it was nothing to do a 50, 60-hour week. And you're an intern, so you're not getting paid. I remember one night my umpire didn't show up at Clarkson Junior High, and she's like, well, you're there. I said, yeah. She's like, umpire the game. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I went to college to be
But now that I look back, I've learned so much from her, because I remember when I left her at Independence Township, went to Southfield, I didn't tell her I was applying at Southfield. I just applied and got the job, and then I went and told her. And she never let me forget that. I left for like $3,000 more a year. And here's how things come full circle. So I was at Southfield. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. My old position came back open at Independence Township, so I applied. So I think I went through the first interview, second interview. I told Michelle, I said, I got the job. The third interview was with Dale Stewart. You remember Dale? Mm-hmm. And Ann. So I go in there, and here's what she asked me. She's like, okay, welcome. This is the last interview. We're going to make our decision. Who is our state representative? I said, I don't know. Well, who's our state senator? I don't know. Well, thanks for coming. And that was it. She made her point.
Wow.
Don't burn the bridge. Someday you may have to cross. So to say the least, I never got the job. But, I learned so much from Annie.
So if you'd have talked with Ann, you may have continued on. She'd have found 3,000, or somehow you might have stayed. But again, you wouldn't have been here, though. So.
No. So everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
So it's ironic. When I was interviewed for the Oxford job, who was on the interviewing panel? Ann Conklin.
Honestly,
I walked in that day, and there she sat, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's funny how things come full circle. So I always tell my kids, don't burn a bridge, because you never know when you're gonna have to cross it. So,
that is cool.
But she's been such a good friend of mine and such a mentor in the Parks and Rec. I owe her so much. She's an incredible lady. Very good person.
She more or less oversaw after she left. She
Canton.
She left Canton, and she went to the state association.
Yeah, she ran our state association for about 5 or 6 years, and then she just recently retired a year ago. But I stay in contact with her. She's on the state foundation board with me. Mm-hmm. So I just saw her last week, and Mike Gangan as well. But two people that really made a difference in my career are those two, Mike Gangan and Annie Conklin. Great people. People. Yep.
Very good. So we've talked about again, the people that have impacted your life. We talked about your programming and how it started. What do you see? We've got a renewal coming up right now, which again is basically sink or swim. You basically, if it doesn't pass, other communities, for example, where I am in Independence Township, the parks budget comes out of the general fund. Yours is a designated millage for recreation that the people vote on. So if that millage doesn't renew, there's no more Parks and Rec.
No, there isn't. Our tax here generates about $650,000 from the current millage, and then we raise another $650,000 from user fees. So that just shows you how busy we are. That 1.2 runs with the department. We're not one to take whatever revenue we have in excess and put it in our fund equity. We dump it right back into the park system. Mm-hmm. So it's crucial that we pass this, not only to keep the department going, but maintain where we're at. We passed a bond 2 years ago to update stuff that hadn't been updated since its installation, like at Stony Lake. the pavilions from the 50s and the 60s and the parking lot, the tennis courts here from 1982. So a lot of that money, or all that money I should say, was used to bring things up to new standards because they were just starting to deteriorate to the point where we couldn't do it. And then we implemented some new stuff because of the demand, whether it's picnic shelters, bathrooms. So that was a bond, bricks and mortar. But this new
Was the senior center part of that too? Or was
no,
that-
the senior center came about when the township hall, or when the township sold the Vets Hall in town. That's where the seniors used to gather. So they kind of put the cart before the horse. They sold the Vets Hall, didn't have a place for the seniors to relocate, and we stepped up to the plate and said, okay, what can we do to make this happen? So we used the proceeds of the Vets Hall to renovate our maintenance garage into our administrative offices. And then from there, we had the groundwork. Then we brought OCTV on to save them money and to find a place for them to call home. But to join those two buildings, we had to have the senior center.
Okay.
So that's how it all came about. The township board gifted us $300,000, and the Parks and Recreation Department put in $125,000, I believe it is, from our fund equity to build the senior center. So you couldn't have built OCTV without the senior center. The seniors had no place to go. That's why it was built.
Yeah.
So,
Problem solving. You basically got your heads
Absolutely.
together and said, how can we make it happen?
yeah, and we saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in doing it ourselves. We were pretty much the general contractor, my park superintendent and I. So to give you an example, we built our new maintenance garage out back. The township board asked us to bid it out, which we did. Came in like $500,000. I said, okay, now let me do what I do. Let me go back to our local guys, traits, and see what we can get it. We built it for $300,000, 200,000 less. So that's what we do here. I mean, I'm a taxpayer. I'm out fighting for every penny we can save.
You're not extravagant.
No, come out and look at our facilities. They're metal siding, metal roofs. You know, we're not about show and tell on the outside. Let's put the money inside where people can use it. So, and I pride myself on that. Where we can save a penny and put it back into the park system for our residents, that's what we're doing. So, yeah, August 6th is it's pretty much make or break the Parks and Rec Department.
And we were talking about media and how people, it's really easy to sit on your phone and make a comment or a tweet or whatever. Your door is open. If somebody wants to know what's going on, don't just set out on the sideline and guess what's going on. Come and talk to Ron.
Yeah, I work for them. You know, I work for the residents of Oxford. So I think social media is really sad today that people will hide behind a screen or a keyboard and just throw something out there just to get something started when it's completely false. And unfortunately, people will buy into it instead of picking up the phone and calling me and saying, Ron, is this true? Let's agree to disagree on certain things. That's fine, but give me the opportunity to explain it.
Right.
You know, our doors are open. I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
And I think our track record speaks for itself. If you look at what we've done with what we've had, I'll put our department up against anybody in this state of Michigan as
Bang
far as
for the
recreation.
buck. You're a value for Oxford.
This little department is recognized around the state of Michigan. If you speak of Oxford Township Parks and Rec, I don't care if you go from Lake Huron to Lake Michigan, people know of our little department for what we've done here. Whether it's the grants, the gifts, the donations, it's a diamond in the rough Parks and Rec department. People just need to step out of their comfort zone and realize that. So if you have a question, give me a call. Give me the opportunity to explain it to you. Don't believe everything you read on Facebook.
Yeah. And I know one of your staff with Dan Sullivan and his wife Julia. I've worked with her in the past. Again, some of your other staff again have taken a strong partnership working with you. And again, I see nothing but good things happening with the folks you have. And
yeah, I've been blessed with a great staff. You know, Dan's been here and Lauren about 15 years. Don Medicis probably been with us 7 or 8. Jeff Kynes, our park superintendent's been here probably 20. And then we have 2 or new maintenance guys, but that just speaks volumes of the department we have. It's like a family.
Yeah.
We're all, you know, everybody pulls the wagon together, and there's not a better example of that than Seymour Celebration, what we just came off 2 weeks ago. You know, we had 10, 15,000 people in the park, 2 nights of fireworks, community carnival, live entertainment.
how many people?
Probably anywhere between 10 and 15,000 in the 3 days. It's just
Wow.
not, it's a great program. So, you know, that's just a true representation of the teamwork. To pull that off with 7 people is astonishing. So,
But again, it's community support too, because
Oh, it's
that's not
huge.
It's people donating, people helping.
Yeah, it's people getting behind the
partnerships.
vision and making it work. So, you know, we proved ourselves, and now the momentum is just snowballing. So yeah, the local businesses who sold our little flags and came out and helped with sponsorships, Meyer and Genesis, there's so many to name, the TAP, 24, the list goes on and on, Art and Dix, everybody rallies around that event now, and it's a true example of our community.
That is,
Yeah,
that is
it's
cool.
great.
That
It's
is
great.
cool. What you've seen in the 25 years, as you reflect back, we talked about some of the events here in town with the job. You started real small, benchmarks or key events that happened along the way that.
You know, the biggest one was when we took over the adult ed from the schools. That really catapulted the department, enabled us to start recreation programming. So that was huge. You know, the DDA involvement with some of the community events got me introduced to the community leaders, I would say, who the key players were, introduced me to the movers and shakers.
The key communicators.
Yeah, so that was an interesting thing. And then from that, it just spun off and just started giving me the opportunity to start running some special events that weren't currently being met. It's been great to see the department grow where it's at, but we're still not meeting all the needs. Like I said, lacrosse is coming up.
Who would have thought of lacrosse?
Oh, it's unbelievable, because when we bought this property, I think it was 5 years ago, it was like, so many people said, do you have enough property? Well, no, we don't have enough property because we've got to try to meet this demand. So the nice part is you can never have too much open space. It helps the community. It saves on infrastructure, so the more open grass or open greenways you have, the healthier and more active your community will be. So the next 20 years, where's the Parks and Rec going? I think we need to put a larger emphasis on health and wellness, more walking trails, more preservation, more leisurely activities, not so much structured programs, but something that you can come out and leisurely do at your pace, whether it's pickleball, tennis, maybe it's just leisurely walking, who knows?
Yeah.
So,
No, I think that's important. I think back to the folks in Oakland County, for example, with the county parks we have around here. You've got Orion Oaks. There isn't a county park in Oxford, but you've got Orion close by, Independence Oaks, that the leadership in the 70s that bought those tracts of property, that's green space that we're going to have.
Yeah.
Future generations,
Yeah.
your kids, your grandkids, future generations are going to have that space. It's not going to be gobbled up by development.
Right.
And what you have here in Oxford, you're creating that green space, and you're adapting and adjusting to I guess the population, the aging population. Who would have thought 40 years ago that baby boomers were going to be something to be concerned about? But
Yeah.
now my age
Yeah.
group is something that you're focusing on, and
Yep, we've prided ourselves on taking advantage. When property becomes available, we get it. The 300 acres at Oakwood is a perfect example. If we wouldn't have got that, now it would have scheduled for housing. Now that we've got it, the community can enjoy it in perpetuity. It's here.
yeah,
So-
and that's significant. That's so important. And again, for those future generations, that you're leaving your footprint. We think of walking on the moon, and we think of the footprints that we see. And again, what's being able to be done here in Oxford Township with your programming, you're leaving that footstep for those future generations, and it's really neat. So, Ron, I have enjoyed this. Again, it's with a lot of pride that I talk with you. From that little guy I had at Sashbaugh Junior High, you have had a very, very interesting life, one that we can be very proud of, and it's, again, been a pleasure.
My pleasure. It's been a great time.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you so much.
Until next time, we'll be back with My Life.